Now we're going to move on to the protesters in Israel before we get back to the college campus mania that is going on.
Today, President Biden spoke by phone to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, warning once again about a new Israeli assault on the city of Rafah in Gaza. Also today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken left Washington for his latest trip to the region. Blinken is expected into Israel Tuesday. It will be his 7th visit since the war began in October. CBS's Deborah Pata is in East Jerusalem tonight with the very latest. Deborah.
Good evening. There is a flurry of diplomatic activity in this region this week in a last-ditch effort to revive ceasefire talks and secure a hostage deal ahead of a possible ground offensive in the southern Gaza city of Rafah.
The pressure is mounting on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Anger over the government's failure to bring their loved ones home has spilled onto the streets as demonstrators have stepped up their protests, which more than once have ended in scuffles with police. Prioritizing a hostage deal over the Rafah offensive has exposed cracks in Netanyahu's coalition government. The release of the hostages is our first priority, said Foreign Minister Israel Katz, adding that would mean deferring an offensive in Rafah, where more than 1.4 million Palestinians are sheltering, a move vehemently opposed by Israel's more hawkish right-wing faction. With the threat of a full-scale offensive hanging over Rafah, people here keep asking, where will they go? Much of Gaza lies in ruin. The destruction on such a scale, it is uninhabitable. And there is nowhere safe to run to. This little boy and his eldest sister are beside themselves with grief. They've already lost their mother. Now their father's been taken too. My brother is just 6 years old, Zain al-Raith screams. He's an orphan. How do I raise him? The staggeringly high civilian death toll in Gaza has sparked nationwide protests at American universities, which have not gone unnoticed by students in Rafah, whose education came to an abrupt halt with the war. They no longer have walls to spray graffiti on.
Don't know how to feel about these protests. They essentially just want to pause in genocide. Am I misreading? I don't care. Good. Okay? Anything that causes internal division inside of Israel that sets up their plans and has to force them to not invade Rafah is good. It's not a bad thing at all. It's a good thing. I don't give a shit if like every single protester on the streets that is calling for Netanyahu's assassination even, because he has not facilitated a ceasefire negotiation with Hamas and gotten hostages out, wants to then turn around and bomb Gaza into oblivion. I don't care. Okay? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And for the record, like even those who are directly in the line of sight recognize that reality as well. That's why when Hamas released a hostage video recently, we watched it 2 days ago, they said, keep up the protests. We want to return home. The article has been going around on Zionist propaganda networks, and many of my Zionist friends have sent it to me. What is this? Message from a Gazan to campus protesters. You're hurting the Palestinian cause. This is the classic. Hello, I am Iranian. My people, please do not look at where I am actually joining from. It says Langley, Virginia, but I am actually Iranian. Please nuke Tehran. I want nothing more than my people to survive by nuclear apocalypse. Please. My people yearn for freedom. I am Iranian. It's the same shit. Marxism, the protests are way more than that. No. We're talking about the protests inside of Israel. Marxism, not student protests. Obviously, the student protests are about a permanent ceasefire, emancipation for the Palestinians, divestment from like the corporations that fund and facilitate Israel's apartheid regime and genocide. That's not what we're talking about. That chatter asked me a question about the protests happening inside of Israel. Protests happening inside of Israel against the Netanyahu government. And those protests are specifically conducted by Israelis who are both friends and family members of the hostages, and many others who find it ridiculous that the Netanyahu camp has done basically nothing to save the hostages and has done way more to kill them. Ugopnik, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother. Anyway, where the frick were we? Oh yeah, let's finish this up.
Instead,
by the way, you can see like what the people of Gaza actually believe. They are not quiet about how much they appreciate anyone and everyone in the Western world offering support to the Palestinian plight. This has always been the most consistent thing, the most consistent messaging you hear from Palestinians is, please do not let us die in quiet. Do not let our deaths be in vain. Do not allow Israel to continue ethnically cleansing us. Speak out. Speak out about it. Tell others, bring awareness to this, and try to do your very best to put an end to, what is this? Interview with the Gazan? Ugh, this is such a idiotic, desperate attempt to cut propaganda, and I am not even remotely shocked that CNN would try to do this, okay? Pro-Palestinian student activists, many of whom are Jewish, pro-Palestinian student activists say their movement is anti-Zionist but not anti-Semitic. It is not a distinction that everyone buys. I love these things because it's like you just see in real time how they manufacture consent.
showing their gratitude on the tents they now call home.
Also, can you guys not send me this on Instagram and instead send me this as a YouTube video so I can actually watch it? I love you guys, but I'm sure this exists on YouTube as well, right? Here it is on Twitter. Oh, this is the guy. Hamza, Palestinian, peace advocate, and an accountant. And a moron. All right, anyway. Tweet from the same guy. Some people were fine with Hamas did on October 7, with Hamas kidnapping more than 2 million Gazans for years and using them as human shields and sources of funding, donations, and we're not upset because Hamas kidnapped more than 200 hostages, the majority of whom have been in Hamas custody for more than 200 days. Said nothing of the children Hamas killed during the war to loot aid, but we're furious because I published a paper and did an interview asking for more peaceful protests, no use of anti-Semitism, and stop glorifying Hamas. Thank you for the threats. I won't back down. Dude, I hope your check is clearing, dude. Okay? Asshole. I like that they found one dude who can be like, I'm Palestinian. And I think that it's Israel are not the bad guys, but the good guys trying their very best. They got one, which is ironic because there are a shit ton more anti-Zionist Jews than there are Palestinians who will say unhinged dumbass shit like this. So that's why they get so mad. Zionists hate more than anything, maybe with the same ferocity, the hatred that they have for Palestinians, they have for anti-Zionist Jews. They openly will be like, yeah, no, they are the Uncle Ruckus of Jews. Like, they will openly say that. They're like, they're bad Jews. They are actually not good Jews. They're capos. Like, all this unconscionable bullshit. There are 4 Palestinian dudes who are grifters, actually. Yeah, like that John Aziz guy is another one. And then the other one is the son of Hamas who loves Israel. The son of Hamas, what is it, like Ismail Hania's son or some shit? I love that guy. The son of Hamas guy, John Aziz, the Palestinian poet living in England, and then I guess this guy. I am son of Hamas. There's also a guy, Jihad Saftawi. He's really f***ed up. Why can't people comprehend 2 things are bad at once? Israel's treatment of Palestinians is horrible. Hamas are also horrible for Palestine. Neither of those things contradict the idea of ceasefire and aid to the injured. The reason why people can't comprehend 2 bad things at once is not because they have like an unimaginable amount of anti-Semitism. It's because they see that one wrong is unimaginably worse than the other. That's why. It's like getting mad at a dude who punches back, okay, while their entire family's being slaughtered. It's ridiculous. You cannot both sides of genocide. It is identical to looking at the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising led by Jewish resistance groups and saying, well, they brought it upon themselves. It only works if you legitimately believe that Palestinians have to be dominated. That's why I yell at people who try to both sides of genocide. There is no both sides, man. It's ridiculous. He's talking about the Israeli side? No, he's not. He's talking about why people don't offer like immediate and consistent condemnation of Hamas or any kind of Palestinian militancy on a regular basis when shit like this is happening. It's so funny to think like you see cops violently brutalizing peaceful pro-Palestinian demonstrators in the Western world and go, yeah, there's both sides to this. It just happens to be that one side and their cronies and those who defend that one side keep doing all of the violence. Think about it, chatter. Think about it. On the one side, you got a 17-year-old orphan with a goddamn bathtub sniper rifle defending his remaining fraction of a homeland from one of the most well-oiled military machines on the planet that has already killed his family members. Like, how the do you look at that and go, oh man, well, both sides are in the wrong here? It's like being shot, but in the process of being shot, you punched back and going, why did you punch back? You wouldn't have been shot if you didn't punch back. Well, you shot me after. I mean, you shot me before I punched back.
Hands up our students! Hands up our students! Hands up our students! Hands up our students!
Or was this police response during during January 6th? Well, the police were the ones who were already doing January 6th, so it's kind of hard for them to respond to themselves, don't you think? You can ask that same question and be like, where was the police response at Uvalde? Well, once again, they were scared. They are not scared when someone is a peaceful student protesting against genocide. They love that. That's their favorite thing to do. Cracking fucking skulls in this situation is what the major role of the police is. Look at this guy. You think this guy has ever saved anybody? The fuck out of here.
Let them go.
All right, we'll get back to this. Let's finish this off.
Aid groups have warned that an invasion of Rafah would worsen the already desperate humanitarian situation in Gaza, Jerika, where famine looms.
Deborah Pato reporting in East.
We strongly support Israel in its effort to ensure that what happened on October 7th never happens again.
When you said there's a lot that can happen in a year when talking about Biden's chances to win last year, I never expected him to get more and more unpopular with the youth. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that he would be this nutty and this disinterested in his own reelection chances.
But at the same time,
yeah, it's so generous. Thank you, Blinken.
we are determined to do everything we can to bring an end to the terrible human suffering that we're seeing every single day.
Yeah, the Weekend donated another $2 million to the Gazan charities. I saw my goat. Yeah, Abel is the king, dude. The Weekend pledges $2 million to provide food for humanitarian support in Gaza. A legend. I'm also working with some people to see if I can get some celebrities who are willing and able to communicate their positions on Gaza and Palestinians. All these people protesting are lunatics and hippies. Have you seen them? They don't care about Palestine. They just want to be seen in a protest. They couldn't care less about Palestine. Those people won't win this for you. How much have you pledged? We as a community raised more than $1.3 million. I've given, I think, around like 75 grand personally in total. But, you know, beyond that, I've attended protests. I've covered the Palestinian plight for more than 10 years very publicly. But on top of that, I've also attended the protests myself personally, helped the student protesters, interviewed the student protesters in general. Ironic because the hippies that you're talking about in the 60s were also morally in the right. The hippies, the terminology that you're using for, and it has done you good, right? No, it really hasn't. I have, I mean, not that like I am not a victim of this at all. Obviously, my personal experiences, getting death threats, being called up, being branded an anti-Semite regularly, losing out on the remaining marginal brand deals that I already had, and 10,000 members off of this community just leaving, never to return. Well, they're slowly trickling back in now. Is nothing in comparison to what Palestinian children are experiencing on a daily basis. But notice how you went from how much have you pledged to it has done you good. Actually, it doesn't. What would do me good is shutting the up about this issue and maybe even chirping about the student protesters, which is what you want, right? You want to hear that. Now, not only do you want to hear that from me, you want to hear that from everyone else. However, you also probably have noticed that many content creators refuse to talk about this issue. Why do you think they refuse to talk about this issue? They don't talk about this issue because it is considered very polarizing and they don't want to be offensive, and they also don't know any better. They don't want to do the reading. They don't want to understand what the is going on. Or even if they do, they very rarely talk about it because there are a lot of freaks like you, okay, who come into their communities and start chirping at them. And I obviously am very capable of dealing with chirpers such as yourself. But many are not. They see that and they think you're like a normal person and not some freak who is defending an apartheid, who's defending a genocidal regime. Now, the thing is, the protesters are not there for themselves, are there for Palestine. They're there for themselves is also a laughable, delusional thing to say, as we are currently looking at what is happening to these student protesters as a consequence of their brave decisions. They're doing something that is right. They're doing something that is righteous. They're doing something that is incredibly brave. Okay? They're putting their bodies on the line. You, on the other hand, have never done anything for someone else. So you can't comprehend another person protesting for children that are being ruthlessly slaughtered with our tax dollars thousands of miles away. You can't comprehend it, so you project and you say, I'm selfish, I'm narcissistic, so others must be as well. So there must be a different motivation here. That's it. All you have done is demonstrate your selfishness here.
In Gaza, among children, women, men who've been caught in a terrible crossfire of Hamas's making. And so maximizing protection of civilians, maximizing the support that gets to them, this is very much our focus. Now, the quickest way to bring this to an end is to get to a ceasefire and the release of hostages. Hamas has before it a proposal that is extraordinarily generous on the part of Israel. And in this moment, the only thing standing between the people of Gaza and a ceasefire is Hamas. They have to decide, and they have to decide quickly. So we're looking to that, and I'm hopeful that they will make the right decision. We've said clearly, and for some time now, on Rafah, that in the absence of a plan to ensure that civilians will not be harmed, we can't support a major military operation in Rafah, and we have not yet seen a plan that gives us confidence that civilians can be effectively protected.